Okay, back to the Cold Steel catalog we go for this review. This is by request, thank you very much, on the Spike series of Cold Steel fixed blade, very thin hideout knives. And they have some good points and they have some not so good points that I'm going to cover. And as usual, I try to keep it real, I try to keep it absolutely truthful for you guys, cutting through the hype. And I'm going to do exactly that with the Spike series of knives by Cold Steel. First off, let's look at the newer models they added. This is a 2007 catalog from Cold Steel, and this has been a very successful line for them. And it's real easy to tell it's been successful by the mere fact they've added different models. When the Spike first came out in around 2003, 2004, I forget when, this is the only one they had. They had this one, which I have, the Spike, and the Tanto Spike. That one. Now they got all kinds of versions, and they're all cool. No, I shouldn't say all of them. Some of them are cool, but that's just me. This is a Scimitar Spike. Okay, that is kind of a dagger. Single edge sharpened though. I'll tell you right now I don't like it because it doesn't have enough reach. It's shorter blade than all the others. This is a purely defensive knife, brethren. So we want reach. I love this one, the Tokyo Spike. I love the shape of that blade. It's got that, you know, that false edge on the back. And guess what? Yeah, you got it. I'd sharpen that. I'd probably grind it all the way down to the tip. Bowie Spike, love that one. One reason I like it is that width of the blade being longer than these ones, you're going to have more shearing potential with this blade. These are more or less penetrators. They're thrust weapons. The regular Spike you might be able to get a slash cut on, but they're more stabbing weapons than anything. Okay, so that's a Tanto point. I have that one, the Spike, the Talon point, and the reverse curvature of that blade. And I'll just go ahead and say that now. I'm not a big fan of the reverse curved blades. In fact, I probably will not review any because I don't like them. They're very purposeful for what they're designed to do, maybe intimidate. And this isn't the best example of one. The karambit would be a good example. They're just purpose built for one thing, and that is slashing someone's face open. Not that I'm against that, especially if it's a bad guy, or actually only if it's a bad guy. Defensive scenario, of course. But this is very useful only for defensive use. How can you do food preparation with this knife? You're going to be slicing your burger up, apples or whatever, which is much more likely use for your knife than defensive use. So, just an aside, I generally don't like the reverse curvature knives. And your mileage may vary. You may love them, and you may have great experiences with them. You may have prepared Thanksgiving dinner with yours. Rock on. This is a great design, Scimitar Spike. I like this one. Not as compact because it has a curvature in the handle. Okay, so it's not a straight line, i.e. it's going to be a little harder to conceal, but you get more of a belly in the blade. I like that. Better slasher, false upper edge, and you get a metal bulb at the end for an impact device. And a longer handle. All of these retail around 25 bucks. Street price will be around 20, maybe less. 17 bucks maybe if you search hard. Okay, so let's look at them and talk about them in real life. And the Spike series, as good as they are, they do have some big disadvantages, and I'm going to talk about those. First off, with mine, this is my circa 2004 Spike, one of their original. And one of the disadvantages I want to talk about instantly is you just saw me doing it. This, at least the versions, and they may have corrected it in current day models, it is not easy to extract from the sheath. Okay, so it's a little bit tough. Okay, and when it comes out, it comes out. Now you can say, hey, it's a neck knife, man. I'm going to have it securely anchored. Rock on, that's fine. I understand that. But are you always going to be wearing this in a neck fashion? And there's a whole video that can be made about neck knives. Actually, a series of them. I have worn this in a neck fashion, both on duty and personal time. And I have some preferences about neck knives. And my preferences are I don't like them. One of the reasons I don't like neck knives, and this isn't really a hit on the Spike series, it's just on neck knives in general, is because the location of that blade can change under your clothing. Let's say you get in a rough and tumble fight and it goes to the ground. And let's say this blade, since it's on your neck, wraps around your body and goes underneath your back. And then you're pinned on your back by the bad guy and you're flat on your back, and guess what? Your blade has gone under your arm and now is underneath you and you cannot access it. Don't kid yourself that neck designs are the end-all defensive. They're not. They're very limited in use, and they have some big disadvantages, and that's one of them. That because you're dangling your blade on your neck, it can swivel and change, and its position varies. Also, it's generally underneath clothing. That makes it slower to access, as opposed to perhaps a tactical folder in your clip, or clipped in your pocket. That's a lot faster, even though it's a folding design. I think it's a lot faster than this. Now, you guys may differ, and you say, oh, you know, I love my neck knife. I've had great experience with it, and that's true. Everyone's experiences are different. Those are just mine. So I generally found myself not wearing my neck knife for that. But as far as neck knives go, these do have some good things about them. First, let me talk about this. You see that on mine, I have put 550 cord on it. Okay, but another thing, I also put a quick lock. So if someone were to yank my knife, they would not yank my neck with it. This will actually pop right off. You can see how that rope will slide off. Also, this is not regular 550 cord. I hollowed it out, i.e. I took the innards out of it. It makes it a flatter, much more comfortable way to carry it around your neck, should you desire to carry a neck knife. Okay, so a little bit of philosophy, and I always like integrating philosophy in my reviews about the neck knife. However, that's a downside. It does switch position, la-di-da-di-da. But a neck knife is nice in that if you are wearing pants that you cannot put a folder on, or maybe you absolutely have to have your blade go very concealable, then I think a neck knife is a viable option. Okay, so I'm not going to say the neck knives are just horrible. They do have disadvantages. You need to be aware of them and plan on those disadvantages. However, they are ultra concealable and generally lightweight. I will say, even though they're lightweight though, every time I've worn a neck knife, I'm thinking about it all the time, because I'm just not used to carrying 2 to 3 ounces around my neck. Neither are you. Most people aren't. I guess you could get used to it and you'd forget about it, but when I'm thinking about it all the time, it annoys me. And when it annoys me, I stop carrying it. I suspect most people are that way. Let's talk about specifics of the knife. Okay, this is the Spike version, kind of a mini Bowie style, yet this is mostly a thrusting knife. 420 Sub-Zero quench steel, not a bad steel, not a bad choice. This is not a high-use knife. This is mostly a hideout defensive blade, designed for the thrust attack. Here we go with another disadvantage of the Spike series. Very big disadvantage, and that is the handle. It is a very tiny, thin handle. Okay, and it's a thrust weapon. It's designed for the thrust, so it would be very easy for your hand to slip forward on the thrust. There's no guard, a little bit of choil here, not much, and off comes your hand right onto the blade, and you cut your tendons in your finger. Okay, if you decide to carry a Spike, you better darn well hold it very, very tight, and train with it that way. This cord wrapped handle gives good traction. I really don't have a critique on that. I like it. However, you better hold it tight. Also, the handle's tiny. For my hands, I don't have enough handle area. It's too thin. I just cannot get a good grip on the Spike series. Okay, the sheath is fine. It's thermoplastic. I talked about how it locks the blade in very tightly. I think on my models, and again, they may have corrected this on the new ones, it locks too tightly. Because if I'm not carrying it in neck fashion, how else do I carry this? I could lash it to LBE gear. It's got good lash points. That's cool. But I can't clip it to my belt. There's no clip unless I, of course, work something into it. You know, maybe lash it to a belt. If you carry it in a pocket, guess what? You have a two-handed knife, because you'll have to grasp your sheath and extract that blade. And it's not easy. Here's the Tanto version. Nice tip on it. Nice penetrator. It is a good penetrating blade, and it would be a very effective weapon in its role, penetrating. I mean, shivs are used in prison all the time. They're sharpened toothbrushes, like one of my good listeners posted on a comment, and he's absolutely right. This is a lot better than a shiv, and I guarantee it'd be deadly. If you do decide to get a Spike series knife, they are a good value, but understand their limitations. If you don't carry it around your neck, it's a two-handed extraction, has a very narrow handle. You can't slip forward on it, and some of the blade shapes that they come in are very limited. I'm glad to see they have widened their blade shapes, because it makes it a much more useful design. So, not a horrible knife, especially for 20 bucks. A little bit less than 25 bucks. And yes, I've sharpened all mine so the razor sharp. Not too bad. That's the Spike series by Cold Steel. decent holdout, not excellent.